Hello and welcome to this edition of FYI Weekly, your official source for City of Greensboro news and information. According to the Greensboro Planning Department, in the first 6 months of this year, the City of Greensboro approved development for more homes than in all of 2021. This comparison is highlighted in the department's mid-year growth and development figures. This infographic, called Growing Greensboro 2022 Mid-Year, reveals the number of acres annexed and rezoned in Greensboro is nearly equal to the number from 2021. There have been more housing units approved for development than there were in 2021. The 4,025 units of single and multifamily approved for development equates to homes for 9,500 people. This is based on average household size in Greensboro of 2.36. We continue to see strong growth in Greensboro. In the past 18 months, the city has expanded by nearly 3 square miles and rezoned for 8,000 new residential units. Portions of East Wendover Avenue will have occasional lane closures and delays each day from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Crews will conduct waterline rehabilitation work until Monday, November 21st. Impacted areas include Willard Street from 1,500 feet north of Wendover Avenue to 400 feet south of Wendover Avenue, Sykes Avenue from Peterson Avenue to Oak Grove Avenue, Oak Grove Avenue from Sykes Avenue to Fouché Street, and Elwell Avenue from Peterson Avenue to 200 feet south of East Wendover Avenue. Signs and traffic cones are in place, and motorists are encouraged to use alternate routes to avoid the area. Dates and times may change due to weather or last-minute changes in the work schedule. The job is part of the city's ongoing water rehabilitation program, which is funded by water and sewer rates. Visit the city's website to request notification of street projects and road closures. The Greensboro Parks and Recreation Department is now accepting applications for WISE, which stands for Women in Science and Engineering. This year-long program introduces middle school girls to STEM subjects in a fun, hands-on manner. The program will meet in person from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on the third Wednesday of the month beginning on September 21st. Virtual meetings will take place from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on the first Wednesday of the month through August 2023. The cost is $60 and financial assistance is available. The deadline to apply for a spot is Wednesday, August 31st. Participants will build, create, and compete as they work together and independently to formulate ideas, record results, analyze outcomes, and present findings. Applications must include a letter of recommendation from a school teacher. Applicants will be notified by Wednesday, September 7th to verify their acceptance into the program. The American Association of University Women is funding the program. For more information, contact Shelley Scott at 336-373-7757. Cone Health has partnered with the city to share a series of brief and informative videos designed to inspire you to make better choices when it comes to healthy living. Following these tips is an easy way to help each of us improve our quality of life. Let's take a moment to check out today's news for your health.
Regardless of what sport your teenager plays, and whether they play at a highly competitive level or whether they play for fun, we know that they want to win very badly, but we also know that equally, if not more important, is keeping them safe. My name is Dr. Robert Weiner, and I'm with Murphy Weiner Orthopedics. And I'm going to talk to you today about what the warning signs are, what to look for, and how to keep your teenagers and kids safe when they're playing sports at whatever level they're doing. When we talk about factors that lead to injuries, there's some things I want you to understand first about what an injury really is. Injuries can be from one particular event, such as you're running down the field and you go to make a hard cut and your knee gives out. That's one particular event. Or an injury can come from overdoing the same activity over and over again. We call those overuse injuries. And the problem is that not always do you pay attention to the pain. The young athlete may want to just continue to throw because they don't want to disappoint anybody, and so they continue to throw in pain. So the way to prevent an injury in throwing is not only to make sure your arm is strong, but also to make sure that your whole body is strong. So we really stress core strengthening for our throwers. That's true for not just baseball. It's true in tennis, because it's an overhead sport. It's true in volleyball because that can also be an overhead sport. It's true in swimming. So the one thing we tell all of our coaches and our parents when we're talking about their kids playing a sport that involves using their arm is, number one, if you start having pain, immediately stop. Because the more you throw or do anything in pain, the more you're going to do more injury. Then we go back and say, okay, you take some time off. You do a lot of stretching. Stretching is very important in any sport, whether it's baseball for your arm or your hips, you have to stretch those too. Whether it's football or basketball, where we stress a lot about stretching the lower body. But the stretching is important, the strengthening is important, and then resting. Resting is really important, and so we stress that a lot. And so when you feel like that you've done the strengthening and done the stretching, and if there is pain, and you've taken a week or two off, yet you've continued to work on the rest of your body, and if the pain is still there, you need to see us. We see a lot of times that, especially in the summer when these summer leagues will start up, that the kids will start playing on two different teams. And so one team will play on the weekends and another team will play during the week, and all of a sudden, you don't realize it, but they're playing every day and there's no rest, there's no downtime. And so we can see a lot of injuries from that standpoint. We see it in soccer, we see it in baseball. So playing on multiple teams at the same time is a real warning sign that an injury may be brewing. And again, if something starts to hurt, you have to stop. The other thing that we see that goes along with this is that there are many times where there are big tournament weekends, and there'll be 3 or 4 games a day on a Saturday and then on a Sunday. And that's also a potential recipe for a problem. So really paying attention to the amount of time that the young athlete is playing when you don't think it's a big deal, but if you start adding it all up, it's an incredible amount of exposure to the same sport, the same stress on their body over and over again. Just remember, at the end of the day, it's equally important not just to win and to outscore the other team, but also to make sure that you stay safe and healthy. So thank you. Now, for any other information on these topics, go to conehealth.com/orthopedics, and you can find all that information that you need. Thank you.
The City of Greensboro is investing in water infrastructure thanks to a new funding source, and women's equality will be recognized as it relates to healthcare access. We'll have those stories and more news coming up after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Greensboro's Water Resources Department is the recipient of $400,000 of the American Rescue Plan funding awarded to North Carolina. This slice of the state's $789 million pie targets drinking water and wastewater projects. The city applied for financial assistance to evaluate and assess Greensboro's sewer infrastructure. This work consists of video inspections of sewer lines, smoke testing to identify sources of inflow, and flow monitoring to ensure adequate capacity of the overall system. Assessments allow water resources to prioritize repairs, replacements, and rehabilitation projects. This funding will help the city continue to work towards the goal to rehabilitate 1% of the city's sewer system each year. According to Governor Roy Cooper's office, the city of Greensboro is one of 225 applicants for the state funding, which will support 385 projects statewide. In honor of Women's Equality Day, the Commission on the Status of Women will host its annual breakfast meeting. Equity in women's health care, identifying and removing the barriers for equal access, will take place on Saturday, August 27th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. The keynote speaker is Dr. Mary Jo Cagle, Chief Executive Officer of Cone Health. The breakfast will be held at the Terrace in the Coliseum Complex. The cost is $25 per person or $200 per table. Space is limited. Attendees are encouraged to wear a face mask. Dr. Cagle, an obstetrician-gynecologist, was the first woman and the first physician to lead the Cone Health system. She currently serves on the Health Equity Board of the North Carolina Hospital Association Center. The Terrace is located at 1921 Westgate City Boulevard. For tickets, contact Jody Stanley by August 22nd. She can be reached at 336-412-5748. The mission of the Commission on the Status of Women is to improve the quality of life for women in Greensboro. For more information about the Commission, visit the city's website. The 112th Greensboro Police Academy graduated 13 recruits who joined the ranks of the Greensboro Police Department last week. The GPD Training Division recognizes outstanding academic achievements, superior physical fitness, and other specific training awards for recruits. The Academy class followed tradition by selecting a fellow recruit who exemplifies leadership to receive the Michael G. Winslow Memorial Award. This selected recruit delivers a speech on behalf of their Academy class. The new officers had more than 900 hours of training and instruction in more than 40 different areas, including interpersonal communication, problem solving, and how to use technology to make our community safer. Additionally, recruits learned the principles of procedural justice and implicit bias. Procedural justice is a collaborative method of listening and talking that increases mutual understanding and trust among members of the public and police. Understanding implicit bias training examines the inherent biases present in all people. Lawndale Baptist Church donates the Bibles used during the swearing-in ceremony. The City of Greensboro offers adaptive programs on many levels, from recreation to reading. Coming up after the break, we'll check in with the Greensboro Public Library to showcase their All Abilities program. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. The City of Greensboro prides itself in being inclusive, and this is evident with a host of recreation activities, but it's also practiced at the library. Joining me now to talk about the activities for all abilities is Kelly Proudfit. She manages the Sensory Storytime program at the Greensboro Public Library. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Thank you for joining me. Tell us about All Abilities for people who aren't familiar. What are the programs you offer through Greensboro Public Library?
Sure. Well, I'm one of the youth services librarians with the Greensboro Public Library, and we try to offer programs for all ages that are educational and entertaining. We call it edutaining. And the All Abilities programs are our effort to do some specific programs that maybe have elements that make them a little bit more accessible, especially to children with special needs. So the All Abilities programs started at Mcnary. We started with Sensory Storytime and an Autism afternoon. And as we moved along with adding programs, we realized we needed sort of a bigger umbrella term to cover everything, because it isn't just story time. So we've had sensory movie nights. Over this past summer, we did some sensory water play in the back garden at Mcnary. We've done crafts where you can make sensory bins for your children at some of the other branches. And we've had Lego days. So the All Abilities kind of cover everything. We also this past spring did our first big event, which was we celebrated World Autism Awareness Day at Mcnary on April 2nd. With a big event, we had other city departments there, and we had crafts and activities as well as a story time.
I'm sure this is so welcomed for families who have a child with autism or any other special need for that part. So it's nice to see you have such a wide range of activities and you're focusing on sensory.
Yes.
So with that sensory story time, is that different from a traditional story time?
It is a little bit different than a traditional story time, but it has all of the elements that we would find in any of our other story times. So it usually includes stories, rhymes, and songs. The difference is I always try to include a lot of visual elements. I also am a parent of a child with autism, and he is a very visual child. Well, he's a teen now, but so one of the things that we always offer is a visual schedule, which just is a way to list for the kids to know what to expect as the story time goes on, so they know what's coming next and also when it's going to be over, the ones who are doing everything they can to sit still or pay attention. The other piece, we try to include books that have a visual element or maybe some other sort of interactive element. Okay. So I do books that maybe have pop-up pages or moving parts, or I do have some books that have a sound element. And if I don't have a book that has that sort of features to it, I always try to make it interactive in some way. So there's that piece that sort of makes it a little more interactive, maybe has some more sensory elements. But the other big piece is that I have it in the meeting room at Mcnary, and in addition to chairs that are set up to listen to story time, I have lots of other activities in the room. So I really don't expect kids to sit quietly and sit still and pay attention only to me for the entire time. Kids are free to wander, to listen while they're doing other things.
Oh, that's so nice. And another example of how the library has changed over the years, where you had to be very still, very quiet, and now you're being just receptive to the needs of your patrons.
Yes, and I find especially parents with autism, that's one of their biggest worries. Mm-hmm. If they have children with autism, is that their child may be disruptive, may be loud, and that's okay, always really at the library, but particularly at sensory story time, that's what we're expecting.
And speaking of parents, how do you get them to be part of this engagement of their kids and keeping their kids engaged?
Well, engaging with a book is always a great way for a parent to interact with a child. It's a way to maybe build on an interest that they have, a favorite character. It's also one-on-one time they can spend together doing something that hopefully both the parent and the child really enjoy. So that's something that we're always encouraging. And then of course the secret kind of bonus of all of that is that reading, especially to young children, helps build early literacy skills and pre-reading skills. And the kids don't need to know that, and the parents don't even really need to know that, but that's an important part of what you're doing when you read one-on-one with your kid or if you attend story time.
Absolutely. And that's for all abilities.
Yes, so. Absolutely. And for all ages too.
Yes,
even older children like being read to.
Now, it seems like you have a lot of interaction with the families. Do you have any particular example or a story that just really moved you in terms of their experience with all abilities?
Well, I think one that stands out is this event we held on April 2nd this year was sort of the really first big in-person event we've had since spring of 2020. And we themed it as favorite characters, and kids were encouraged to wear a shirt from their favorite character or a costume from their favorite character, and we tried to have a lot of activities. And I heard sort of indirectly a comment back from one mom in particular that how happy they were to attend and how few events there were that were available just for, her son who had autism. And that's true. I mean, I know there's all kinds of organizations and city departments that are offering things, but there are so many kids who are affected with autism that it's wonderful to be able to offer something that's also free. Yes. And that's fun.
Wonderful. Now we want everybody to take part in this. If this is the first time they're aware that these offerings are available through Greensboro Public Library, how do they find out or connect with you?
So the one way you can always find out information about our programs is through the library's website, which is at www.greensborolibrary.com. You can always call the Glen Mcnary Library, which is where I work. The phone number there is 336-373-2015. I know as a parent of a child with autism, I always really wanted to know kind of exactly what to expect, to know what I was walking into. And I'm always more than happy to talk to people on the phone or get an email to give them a preview of sort of what they would find when they came to the library.
Wonderful.
The library also has social media pages you can follow. And you can also get on an email list. We try to send a weekly email list of our programs to anyone who's interested.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're also open to suggestions of how to improve or enhance programming.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That is great. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for taking time out to tell us about this very essential program for our community, and we hope you'll come back and let us know about other All Abilities programming taking place at the library.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stay tuned for some interesting and useful information about Greensboro as we tell you something about the city. That's coming up after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. One way to stay informed about decisions that impact you and our city is by attending or tuning in to City Council meetings at 5:30 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of the month. The fourth Tuesday is reserved for a meeting as needed. The City Council has resumed meeting in the Katie Dorsett Council Chamber on Level 2 of the Melvin Municipal Office Building, located at 300 West Washington Street. The public is allowed in person, but only in a limited capacity. Those who choose not to be in the building can participate virtually. The Greensboro City Council meetings are broadcast right here on GTN. The meetings are also streamed live on the city's website and on Roku. To review the council meeting schedule and agendas, please visit the city's website. Here's an opportunity to learn a little something about the city. The Greensboro Public Library is asking residents to share ideas for the One City, One Book community read taking place next fall. Every other year, the library, along with a long list of community partners, leads a citywide reading of a selected book. Dynamic programs, discussions, films, theatrical productions, and readings are part of the community engagement supporting the chosen novel. Suggested books will be chosen if the theme leads to meaningful discussions about issues affecting us all. The book should also be adaptable as a theatrical musical or other performance art. Lastly, the ideal book should be suitable for all ages. In 2021, the community selected There by Tommy Orange. This inspired more than 200 library community partner and book club programs focused on inclusiveness and the Native American condition in the modern world. The deadline to submit your favorite book title is Friday, September 30th. Send suggestions for One City, One Book to Beth Sheffield. She is the Adult Programming Coordinator at Greensboro Public Library. Coming up after the break, we'll showcase our department spotlight, but first, let's see how the city of Greensboro celebrates diversity in the workplace.
Equity and inclusion are vital for the city of Greensboro's ability to grow and innovate in such a fast-changing environment. One Greensboro is a monthly show that highlights some of the ways the Office of Equity and Inclusion honors the observances listed on our heritage calendar and spotlights a City of Greensboro employee in a segment we call The One. These observances are an integral part of the National Equal Employment Opportunity and Civil Rights Program and encourage us to live as one people, one community, one Greensboro.
Welcome back. The city of Greensboro has more than 20 departments and several divisions committed to serving you, our residents and visitors. Let's go behind the scenes in our department spotlight. The Greensboro Parks and Recreation Department is accepting registration for its after-school program designed for children ages 5 to 12. Activities are hosted at city-owned recreation centers. The cost is $30 per child for each week. Registration is available online. Regular program hours are from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Mondays through Fridays, but the hours may be expanded on teacher workdays, early release days, and some school holidays. To confirm if your child's school bus will stop at the city's recreation centers, contact the Transportation Department for Guilford County Schools. To speak to a program manager, contact the recreation center nearest you. Straight ahead on the other side of the break is this week's Way to Go GSO shout out. Stay with us. As we draw to a close, we always want to end on a positive note with our Way to Go GSO shout out. This week's shout out goes to Greensboro City Lakes. Kids can experience the joy of paddling at Lake Brandt's Kiddies and Kayaks program. This will be offered at 10 a.m. on Saturday, September 17th. The $30 fee includes a kayak, gear, and safety equipment. Space is limited, so reserve a spot today. From a two-person kayak, one adult and one child ages 4 to 12 will explore Lake Brandt. Each child will get a laminated book with pictures of what they find on the lake so they can circle what they can see and hear. For more information about Greensboro City Lake programs, visit the city's website. That concludes this edition of FYI Weekly, but you can easily stay connected to the latest city news by linking to us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Alexa users can subscribe to our 5-minute flash briefings, which airs on 90.1 FM and 100.7 FM. Be sure to download both weekly podcasts, Talk City Greensboro and Connect GSO. Plus, GTN is streaming on Roku. For all of us here at the City of Greensboro, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.